So I'll do a brief intro. Welcome to what did I call it? I called it Summertime Healthy Picnic. Summertime Healthy Picnic instead of the heavy hamburgers and hot dogs and ribs and fried chicken, as delicious as they are. This healthy picnic that I'm going to be cooking for you tonight is much lighter. It is, in fact, a lot of the side dishes that you might enjoy and want to make on your own. The recipes are available to you in the chat, and they can be mailed to you. They're wonderfully cooling to the body as opposed to heating to the body. So the first thing I started with was the dessert. The only somewhat unhealthy part, because there is some sugar in it. There is a good amount of butter to make mango crisp bars. And what I have here is 2 cups, and it's a combination of dried pineapple and mango, and then a little over a cup of water. So what you need to do with this dried fruit is to simmer it and get it so that it is mushy, that you can spread it, and that'll be between the layers. So I'm going to put this on and forget about it, because I actually have done that ahead of time. I already have the mango pineapple cooked ahead of time, so I make sure that we could get this done in an hour's time. But now the good stuff. It is the crust and the crumble, and you cannot do any better than brown sugar and butter, can you? And then adding the oatmeal. So what I have is, I don't know, the 1 cup of brown sugar and a stick and a half of butter. Yep, that much. But this is the extravagant splurge of our picnic. You'll be very pleased with how low fat and healthy everything else is on our menu tonight. So with a softened butter, you just get this mixed enough. There we go. And it's called creaming. So you could obviously imagine that it does get creamy in texture. And you incorporate that well enough. It doesn't take much. To this, we're going to add our flour. And this gives it the real body, so it holds together like a crisp. And I've used organic unbleached wheat flour here. It's not whole wheat, it's wheat, so it's white. Yes, all the fiber has been stripped away. We'll add some fiber with the oats, but this, if you wanted to use alternative flours, it could be rice flour, oat flour. A lot of people are using almond flour now, and if you do, you need to read the directions on the bag of almond flour, because it will give you the conversion. You have to use a little bit more of the almond flour than regular wheat flour. But we have 1.5 cups here. And into this, we're adding a teaspoon of baking soda, a very small amount of salt. What is that? 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And you just whisk this together. You can use a whisk, you can use a fork, just so that you don't get a clump of baking soda or salt in the mix. That's all that takes. And then you add it to our creamed butter and brown sugar. Anybody love to bake? This is one of the best bases for crisps, even bars and cookies. Brown sugar, butter, a little bit of flour, of course, and then I love putting oats in there too. So yes, it gets kind of thick. You just have to use the back of the spoon and keep mashing at it. And at the same time, it's almost all incorporated. I'm adding the oatmeal. And this is not quick oats. You could use quick oats, But I like the texture of the old fashioned oats. So in that goes. Mix it around. And I've been known to, get a couple of clumps, even at this stage of the game. I know it's raw flour, but that butter and brown sugar and oats come through and it's delicious just as is. My mother has a very famous apple crisp recipe. So this is, I know that it just takes this amount of butter to make it as delicious as the end result is. So that's well mixed. And now we have our dish, our baking dish. This is 8 by 8, 9 by 9, somewhere in there. And this is the combination of pineapple and mango that I already simmered and got soft. In fact, it took a long time. I don't know, you get different batches of dried fruit. So this was surprising. It took me a little time and I had to use my Cuisinart to get it small enough. It was still kind of in chunks. It was soft, but still in chunks. So you have to sort of play it by ear from time to time. So what I'm doing is spooning about half this mixture into the bottom of this Pyrex, and you pat it down. And as evenly as possible. You don't have to be too exact about it. And now I'm putting on the fruit spread. Again, a beautiful combination of pineapple and mango. You can use fresh fruit in this. The problem with the fresh fruit is that it usually is a little bit too juicy, liquidy, and it doesn't hold up as a bar. So for picnic purposes, I wanted these to be cut into bars. And I'm not going to use the whole amount. I did a lot extra earlier just to make sure. So you just spread it evenly. It's not a very thick layer. It just covers the surface. And then you top it with the rest of the crisp. And again, you don't pat it down hard, just lightly so it holds together. Meanwhile, you've heated your oven to 350, as I have done. And we put it in. Just that easy. It's pretty fast, isn't it? What happened?
I'm sorry, Polly, I may have missed it. Did you do the crust and then the filling and then the crust again?
Yep. So
Okay.
filling is the middle layer.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the filling is the middle layer. So 350 for people's, ovens are a little bit different. Usually it's 25 to 35 minutes. Okay. So that is that. I am going to now make some noise over here and get ready for our next dish on the back of your recipe handout, which is, this is so good. Hold on. We're doing a set change here. This is going to be our chicken and chickpea wrap. So simple, so delicious. All the ingredients here. Let me get them off my cutting board so it looks a little more organized. And here we go. There's my potato masher, all my utensils. These are chicken tenders, and they are the leanest part of any animal meat, actually, the tenderloin of a cow, of a turkey, and they make really perfect portions, don't they? So you can get just packages of chicken tenders. And again, chicken is a leaner meat saturated fat wise than red meats. What we add to the chicken tenders, have you heard the craze of Tajin? Tajin. I first had this in Costa Rica, lucky enough to go there, and oh, is it delicious. And now they use it as a rim for margaritas and things. And when I was out of my old, and when I bought this, on the market, they're giving us reduced sodium Tajin now. So what's in it? It is a variety of, does it have it? Ingredients: chili, peppers, sea salt. And then there's some things that keep it from caking. So basically it's a chili, pepper, lime, sea salt combination. So what I'm doing is just shaking some on it, but how does it stick? With a little bit of olive oil. How much? I think I have a tablespoon on the recipe, but really just to coat it and so that it won't stick on your saute pan or your grill. I have a nice little grill here. And because I want to be, you know, healthy about this, safe about this, I have gloves, and you just kind of roll it so it's coated, lightly coated. The avocado and chickpea mash already has quite a lot of flavor that we're going to add to it, as you'll see. So I'm not going real heavy on this tagine. So I've just rolled it over a couple of times, and we'll put it on our preheated grill. Let that do its thing, depending on the thickness of the tenderloin. You know, I'm thinking it's going to be probably between 5 and 6 minutes, but I'll check. You can do a finger check. While that's grilling, we'll get to the mash. And the mash is 1 can of garbanzo beans or chickpeas. And they're rinsed, okay? The juice of 1 lime. This is a very limey cooking class. I'm using lime a couple of times. It's very refreshing, I think. And I have a potato masher. You can use the back of a fork if you'd like. And we're just busting these up a little bit. Okay, so you really have to push down on them. We're not making a hummus, even though this is the beginnings of making your own hummus. It's lemon juice instead of lime juice. But let me just make sure I get most of them starting to mash. Got to use a little muscle. I love beans in so many dishes, hot and cold. They are the only way you can be a successful vegetarian in my book, if you have become one or are thinking about it or want to be a part-time vegetarian. Get beans into your diet because they are everything we need. There's some healthy unsaturated fats in there, not much. Soybeans have the most. Lots of fiber, lots of some compound called lignans, which is a wonderful anti-cancer properties to it. Okay, that's the first mash. Sorry for the noise. Got to get it out of my, in between the masher. There we go. So they have so many wonderful properties. Protein, a little bit of carbohydrate for energy. Yes, so they have a combination of all 3 macronutrients. The next thing that goes in is an avocado. So is it hummus or is it guacamole? That's what I kind of like about this recipe. It's a little bit of both. So I just ran the knife around the long edge. And luckily this avocado looks lovely. You never know what you're going to get. And here's our wonderful omega-3 fat that we need more of in our diets. So I'm just giving it a couple of slices This is my favorite knife for avocados because it's kind of dull for cutting other things, but it's perfect for slicing through avocados. Once you cut it, you can use, a spoon to scoop it out. So the avocado goes next. And some people, avocados are so popular right now, which is a great thing. But they are high in fat. So if you're watching overall calories, even though these are the good fats to consume, then I usually contain my serving to 1/4 of an avocado. If I know I need to stay satisfied for several hours before my next meal, then I'll have half an avocado because those healthy fats help to keep you from getting hungry. They're brain healthy and heart healthy fats. All right, excuse my fingers, but I touched my food. All right, in here we have the lime juice, tahini, more healthy fat. Tahini is from, sesame seeds. So this is roasted sesame seeds that's just been ground into a butter. And this is what's traditional in hummus. But you can use olive oil instead of tahini if you're making hummus. And it has a very strong particular taste, as in toasted sesame seeds. So some people, don't love it as much. It might take a little getting used to. But again, it's that wonderful, healthy fat. Juice of 1 lime we added. And now you could put in 1/4 teaspoon salt. But these salt-free seasonings, good old Dash seasonings, they've been around for a while, are great. I have lemon pepper in my cabinet, and I pulled out garlic and herb. So they just add a little extra. I'm going to turn the chicken tenders. They're getting a little brown. Delicious. And we're going to add a teaspoon. I always use the cup of my hand. After a while, you get used to what a teaspoon looks like. And since it is salt-free, it's not like it's going to be overly salty, obviously.
You got in.
Yes? Did I hear you say something? All right. So now we've really got the mash going. We have the semi-mashed garbanzo beans. Now we're adding in the tahini and the avocado. And this is all it is. This you can use as a roll-up or a pita sandwich stuffing or a cracker spread. It's not smooth, it's kind of chunky, which is part of its appeal to me. But since I wanted to add animal protein, for those of you who don't want just beans, because I have another bean recipe tonight, I've done the chicken tenders. So here we have it. And it is not exactly the most gorgeous thing to show on camera, but you can see it's not smooth. So it's a nice chunky dip. And the flavor with the lime and the tahini, and then the seasonings, it's just delicious. I just love it. So this is a done deal. We're just going to wait for the chicken tenders to get a little bit more. When you buy tahini, if ever you venture out to do so, it's best to keep it in the refrigerator after you've opened it. It's also necessary to stir in the oil because they don't have any preservatives in there to keep the oil mixed in and emulsified. So you just need to stir it up a little bit. It's okay, friends. Do you know the finger test? These are chicken tenders. They're very thin, really. And if you put your thumb to your pinky and feel the lower part of your thumb, that fat part of your hand. Thumb to pinky is well done. Thumb to index finger is rare. So it gets tighter and stiffer and harder as you get to your pinky. And I'm telling you that because this is now almost to the all the way done stage. Little trick, you can play with that. The residual cooking, it's still hot. It's still going to keep cooking to get to the perfect doneness. I'm taking it off now. We're going to let this sit for a bit. And then the way we serve this, what bread do you like? And you don't even need to have bread if you don't want. But this is an organic wheat tortilla. And to get more fiber, and because fiber is your gut microbiome's favorite food, you need a nice healthy gut microbiome, and it helps keep obviously things running smoothly when you eat a lot of fiber. That the more veggies in your diet, the best. When people say, "Oh, what's the one thing I can do to increase my health?" It's always just add more vegetables to what you're already doing. That's more important than taking out the junk, believe it or not. So that's what that's about. So what we do is whatever bread you're serving it on, you know the drill, sort of like a Taco Tuesday thing. You put in the filling. And I am going to take one of these. It's a little bit too thick to add to this particular tortilla. So I'm cutting it in smaller strips, and it's perfectly cooked all the way through. So then I'm going to add it like this. And if you just joined, I seasoned the chicken with olive oil and tahini, which is a chili pepper, lime zest, salt thing, combination. And you can do shredded cabbage, you can do lettuce, you can do anything you want. I have broccoli slaw here, just not a lot, but just enough for a crunch. So we'll put that on top. And then we always eat with our eyes, don't we? So a little bright orange on top of that. And then you roll it. Uh-oh. A larger tortilla might have been better. But as you can see, here we have a full rolled tortilla full of all that good sort of guacamole-ish essence, but with the texture of the smashed green beans and the tahini seasoned chicken. So this would be a great lunch. This would be a wonderful thing to pack. You probably need a couple of toothpicks to keep it really solid together. I'm going to put it on our end of the cooking demo plate over here. And change our set. So there is your chicken and chickpea avocado roll-up. So simple to do. More beans, as I said. These foods are very cooling as proteins to the body compared to animal protein. So you know how hot it's getting out here. And unless you are tuning in from another part of the country, it is scorching here in Florida. So don't know that you're really going to go on a picnic outside on the 4th of July. But all of these foods, keep in mind that we don't want to overheat the body. So beans with vegetables don't heat the body up as much as other fats and proteins do. So for this wonderful recipe, I'll bring out the next round of ingredients. And lime juice makes a showing again. So these are 3 cans of black beans. All right, I think I have everything. And another cutting board. All righty, this is colorful. This was the most downloaded recipe from a previous place where I worked and did Friday videos, food for thought videos. Because it sounds good, doesn't it? Black bean mango salad. It's delicious. So we start with rinsed black beans. And what's so cool about beans, consider this, anywhere you go in the world, there is a bean that is native to that part of the world. So black beans are in the islands, right? Cuban black beans, who knows, but all across the islands. Mexico, Southeast are the pinto and anasazi beans. The garbanzo beans we just used are Middle Eastern beans. Aduki beans in Japan. I mean, what are they? Navy beans in Boston. So that's what you use for baked beans. So I just like knowing that, you know, we're getting a variety of good legumes from across the planet because they have been population's staple food for eons. And not as much meat eating, but beans have always been there. So that's my little history on beans. Lots of mangoes. Do you know anybody who has mango trees and they're trying to give them away? Take them, take them. But if you don't know how to cut them, that's a problem. So a little demo. They're not the easiest things to cut, but you can see by the shape of them, you go towards the narrow angle and the pit, the seed on the inside is a flat, narrow pit. So you do your best guess and cut on one side of that flat pit. Ah, I was lucky. Okay, so there's that piece. And then you do the same thing to the other side. So these are the easy pieces to cut up now. The rest of the yummy flesh around the pit gets a little messier, but I want to just show you. There's a couple of ways to do this. The way I like to do it is to cut it in these kind of wedges. Okay, so that's my preferred way. When can you tell if a mango is ripe? Almost like an avocado. There's a give to it, but it's not too soft. So what we're doing now is taking the knife and running it close to the peel. And it's a kind of a feel that you get. Sometimes I get a little peel in there. You just keep cutting it away. Mango is a tropical fruit, and all fruits are a good source of vitamin C, and so is mango. And it is just like candy, isn't it? Now that I have them cut in those sticks, I'm drawing the blade crosswise for manageable chunks. Just whatever it is you feel you would like to have scooped up on your fork. And then we do it over here too. Now, the other way I should have shown you is to score almost through to the peel, and then you go crosswise. And this is a pretty looking result, but sometimes I find it a little bit harder to cut. And then you open it up like a flower. Isn't that nice? And so then you're able to take the knife, be careful, and you're already have the chunks. Takes a little finessing. There you go. If you have lots of mangoes coming your way, or you have a tree, peel them and freeze them. They are some of the best things to add to smoothies, as well as just eating the frozen chunks themselves. That can be a wonderful alternative to your sweeter tooth at night, perhaps. You've heard of frozen grapes that kind of play that role. Frozen mangoes are so much better, in my opinion. And then, ew, look what I'm doing. I'm throwing in the garbage. How do you get the extra around the pit? You do your best to do an extra slice. They're not as thick a slice, but that's how you manage the most of the fruit. And then when no one's looking, you just kind of gnaw around the pit itself. But I love the color combination in this salad. It is a stunner when you bring it to the table or take it over to a friend's house if you're going to somebody else's house for a picnic. I do have corn here. This is roasted corn. It was just frozen. It's now thawed. That goes in there. So the texture of corn and the taste of roasted corn is delicious in there. We have our red bell, showing you what I think is the easiest way to cut a bell pepper. You just take it down the side, quarter turn, take it down the other side. And you can do it all four sides. Sometimes these bell peppers are shaped and there's only three sides. But what you're doing is you're avoiding all of the mess that comes with the pepper seeds. Have you ever been in that state? If you want to get fussy, you can cut out this white membrane part. You don't have to, but if you really want to have just the true red of the pepper there, then you can do that. And again, all bell peppers are a wonderful source of vitamin C as well. So I'm cutting it lengthwise. And I want these a little bit smaller to be about the same size as the black bean. Because the corn is small, the black beans are small, we'll cut these to be about the same size, and it just looks better when they're about the same size. The mango is the only thing that's a little bit bigger. See the color that's happening here? Not lovely? But there's more. Gotta have a clove of garlic. And I was about to mince this whole clove of garlic, and I went, wait a minute, maybe somebody has not seen the effective way to make chopped garlic with the least amount of chops. And what that is you peel it, place it down, move the handle of the knife off the cutting board, and give it with your palm, the heel of your hand, I mean, one big smash. And it has done half of the mincing just like that. And then you draw the knife through it to get it a little bit small. So one large clove of garlic, of course. Okay, where are we? I need to, corn I have, okay, a teaspoon each of the spices. So here we go with oregano, teaspoon of dried oregano. Whoop, too much. If you want to get the most flavor out of the dried spices, then you, especially like basil and oregano and rosemary, you sort of pinch them a little bit in your hands, and that releases the oils, the essential oils, a little bit better. And cumin, of course, if we are talking black beans, and I have just measured almost a teaspoon left of cumin in this bottle. Wow, look at that. Sure enough. Perfect. And then just a little bit of chili pepper, much less of that. So what's that, about a quarter teaspoon, or do I say, yeah, quarter teaspoon of chili. To this, we want to add the lime juice, 3 tablespoons. This recipe doesn't have olive oil in it. It certainly could if you'd like. It's not a bad thing to add olive oil to it, but I thought I would have one recipe without the oil. And then beautiful cilantro. Some taste buds repel cilantro. Are you one of those? If that's the case, you don't need to put them in here. Couple of tablespoons. For me, when I first tasted it, I was like, oh, whoa, what's that? I wasn't a big fan, but I stuck with it. I tried it a few more times, and now I love it. So rough chop of the cilantro for that beautiful pop of green. And I think I've got everything. Oh, I am so looking at my recipe now and seeing that it in fact has olive oil. I'll stick with, you can add it if you want or not. I am not going to add it just for fun. And then toss. I mean, if there's ever a festive color salad, this is it. And it's really good for like several days, I find. You might need to add a little more lime juice day 2 or 3. Or maybe you want to refreshen it with some more cilantro. But there you have it, my friends, a very high fiber, colorful, festive, cooling protein dish. Love it? And imagine this with, you know, your grilled meat on the side if you'd like, but it's a beautiful side dish to bring. You can eat it just as a bowl, and that would be a meal, or you could mix it in with a salad or have it just be a little bit side. So, all right. The next thrilling salad, watermelon. We need to stay hydrated all year long, of course, but especially when it's hot out. So here's a formula for how much water should you drink in a day. And this is just normal day. This isn't out there playing sports and sweating, okay? So take your body weight, how much do you weigh, and divide that in 2. So now you have that number, and you express that number in ounces. And that's how many ounces of water or cups. So an example is 150 pounds divided by 2 is 75. What is 75 ounces? You know, we don't really relate to that. Well, you can do the math, you know, because 8 ounces in a cup, it is 9 1/3 cups of water. So that's a basic formula for how much water we need in a day. Why do we need water? So many reasons, but the easiest to remember is our cells are 70% water. So for all of the billions of cells in our bodies to do their optimal job, optimal best, they need to be hydrated. If they are dehydrated, they're not doing all of the things they need to do for us. So drink your water. And now that we have watermelon and all kinds of wonderful summer fruits, even cucumbers are a vegetable that's full of water. Make sure you get that in your diet. Stay hydrated. Keeps the body cool. See, honey, getting out all the yummies for this. I don't know if I need this or not. No, I don't. So, yes, you can buy it already cubed. Just don't know if you have your own method for cutting a whole watermelon into cubes. We certainly know the slices, and that's fine, but we're getting a little fancy here with the addition of other things. So my method is to take a wedge, and then I cut. You see, I'm going straight down to the rind. However big I want my cubes is where I cut. and all the way to the edge. Now that I have these, I just take it across and they just fall off into cubes. I've not seen how they do it at Detweiler's or Publix in their produce. They have people cutting fruit there all day long. I don't know their technique, but that one's mine. Okay, what else goes in this? This is just fabulous. We have cucumber. And if you're saying, no, thank you, you can do one or the other, some, of each of any of these ingredients. But we have a textural crunch going on here of hothouse cucumber. So they're seedless, just about a cup. And then we have fresh mint and fresh basil. You want one and not the other? Fine. And so what you do is you do a rough chop. And here's a fun fact. You probably have heard that we should eat more leafy greens because they're high in antioxidants and fiber and phytonutrients and all the good things about green leafies like kale. Well, guess what's also included in your green leafy list? Fresh herbs, fresh green herbs. They have the same wonderful or similar wonderful profile of antioxidants, phytochemicals, vitamins and minerals even, and the fibers and all of those anti-inflammatory pieces. So I just think that's a wonderful thing to know that it's not just kale that you need to chew on. It can also be your herbs, your green herbs. Isn't that nice? And so I have roughly a generous amount of basil and mint. And again, mint is very cooling as an herb. And I'm doing a rough chop. And I really would not recommend dried herbs for this, since the watermelon is such a fresh ingredient, is so moist. I really don't think a dried mint or dried basil would work here. So plenty of this. You do as much or as little as you think you would like or your family would like. And then feta cheese. So you know that sweet and sour thing, the salty sweet, that juxtaposition of those two. This is where it happens. And I'm just going to crumble about 1/4 cup, not too much. When I was growing up, when we would do watermelon and spit the seeds at each other, anybody else do that? It was, I don't know whose idea this was, but we would salt the watermelon. Don't need to, but that's how we, were served it and learned to do it. And so there again is that sweet and savory, that sweet and salty going on. Let me wash my hands from the feta. So here we have a beautiful bowl so far, right? You could leave it just like that, but I love giving you options, and your option now is a dressing of, you guessed it, lime juice. So what do I have? This was 1/4 of a big watermelon, 1/4 of it. So I am basically halving this recipe. So I'm going to be putting in 1 tablespoon of honey instead of 2, because you don't want this really dressed. You want it so lightly dressed. So 1 tablespoon of honey, 1 tablespoon of lime juice, and believe it or not, a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to do a shy tablespoon. And if you'd rather not dress the salad, absolutely, you do not have to. And then just a pinch of salt, just a pinch. The feta is salty, so you don't need more than that. And a little whisk. And you can see this makes, I mean, this is half of the recipe. So this makes enough for a crowd. But my suggestion is do half of that watermelon just as a thirst quencher most of the day and use this for a side dish for your meal. And there you have it. Take a nice big spoon and toss it lightly just to get that dressing dispersed. This is so good, you guys. I hope you do buy some of these ingredients and try a few of these recipes, because the reason I did them is they're my favorite. They are my favorite. Okay, we're right at the end. And so there you have a lovely watermelon, feta, fresh basil, and cucumber salad. I get to. I'm going to plate what we've done so far. So I have our chickpea and avocado roll-up, a nice scoop. This would be a beautiful picnic plate, I'm telling you. Make sure we get the feta, the cucumber on the top as a garnish. Lovely, lovely. We have our black bean mango salad. Look at that. Ooh, it's so pretty. And remember, this has the cumin flavor, a little bit of chili powder in there, a little bit of oregano, and then the refreshing cilantro and mango. There you go. Just want to plate it so you don't just see it in big bowl form. And looking at the time, I'm going to take a peek at the crisp. I really hope it's done. I probably won't be able to cut it into bars. It's going to be too hot too, but I have a little more of that in there. Done this recipe for myself as, you know, making sure it worked. These are ridiculous. It's smelling so good. Oh, yay. I wish you could smell, but that's what you want. You want sort of it toasty on the top, and all that butter has done its magic. And I'll try, it may not be beautiful because it is so hot out of the oven, but I love this spatula. It has a nice sharp edge. And I see some comments coming in. I'm going to take a moment and get there. If you want to come off of mute and ask questions, please do.
No questions, Polly. We're just excited to give these recipes.
Okay, up, 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 up. Don't drop it. I have a separate plate for these to go on. Yeah, it's too hot coming out of the ovens, my friends, to hold into a bar. But once it cools down, it kind of compresses a bit, and it maintains its shape really, really nicely. Imagine, if you will, mango, pineapple, brown sugar coming at you. That is heavenly. And you do have the fiber of the fruit and the oatmeal, even though there is sugar and butter in there. But that's what celebrating and enjoying your food's all about. So a nice, healthy summertime picnic ideas. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you try some of those recipes and let me know what you think.